Welcome to Veterans Air, the Veterans Hour. I'm your host, DouglasB. Veterans Air is your source for news, talk, and commentary here on Lone Star Community Radio. You can listen to us live the first Tuesday of every month on veteransair.us or on irlonestar.com, and of course, Conroe's FM 106.1 and 104.5. Welcome to Veterans Air. You know, we have a mission here at Veterans Air. Our mission is to bring you news, talk, and commentary of interest to veterans, their families, and to our active duty service members. This show is going to cover current events, news, legislation, and interviews with experts on topics of major interest to veterans. We'll have some call-ins from our listeners and wind up with community events and activities to end us out. Since this is our first show, I'm asking you to bear with us as we work through any technical difficulties or any operator headspace and timing issues we may have. This month, we're going to spotlight the American Legion. It's the oldest veteran service organization in the country. In the studio today, we have with us Vice Commander for the Department of Texas, the American Legion, John Heinz, and Commander Steve Merrill of your local American Legion Post 411. Later in the show, we're going to be discussing the recent development concerning Sergeant First Class Martland and the subsequent MartlandAct while taking some listener call-ins. Be sure to stay tuned to hear about local events for April and May. It's no secret that I myself am a combat veteran and a big supporter of veteran service organizations and of their causes. I'm even a post officer with our local American Legion Post 411 here in Conroe. It seems that everybody knows the name the American Legion, but I'm not so sure everyone knows the history behind the organization. Let me give you a brief history of the American Legion, and I'm going to introduce our guest to you. The American Legion was chartered by Congress in 1919 as a patriotic veterans organization. Focusing on service to veterans, service members, and communities, the Legion evolved from a group of war-weary veterans from World War I into the most influential nonprofit group in the United States today. Membership in the Legion swiftly grew to over 1 million members, and local posts sprang up all across the country. Today, membership stands at over 2.4 million members in some 14,000 posts worldwide. The posts are organized into 55 departments, one for each of the 50 states, along with the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, France, Mexico, and even the Philippines. Over the years, the Legion has influenced considerable social change in America. It's won hundreds of benefits for the veterans and produced some important programs for children and youth. Here's a small list of significant dates in Legion history, just to show you the age and the influence of the American Legion. In March 15, 1990, members of the then American Expeditionary Force convened in Paris for the first American Legion caucus. May of 1919, they had a St. Louis caucus, and the American Legion was adopted as the organization's official name. At that caucus, the Legion drafted the preamble and the Constitution. In June 9th of the same year, 1919, the National Executive Committee adopts the Legion emblem. This is the emblem that everybody sees, the one that everybody knows. And in September of the same year, Congress chartered the American Legion. The American Legion is a 501c19. It is the only service organization that is chartered by Congress. November 10th of 1990, the First Legion Convention convenes in Minneapolis. The Constitution and the preamble for the American Legion were adopted. Delegates voted to locate the national headquarters in Indianapolis instead of Washington, D.C. In hindsight, that was probably an important decision. A resolution was passed at that convention to support the Boy Scouts of America. Today, the Legion is the chartering agency for more than 1,700 scouting units made up of approximately 64,000 youths. The American Legion is going to be 97 years old in this May. That's a long life history for any organization, a strong history, but I'm betting there's more to the story, so let me introduce our first guest, Vice Commander John Heinz of the American Legion Department of Texas. John graduated from the Virginia Military Institute and was commissioned in the Army in 1968. He served on active duty from 1969 through 1973, completing a tour in Vietnam as an Army fixed-wing pilot. He has served in the American Legion as a post commander, district commander, division commander, and is currently serving as the department vice commander. John, thank you for being here with us today, and I want to personally thank you for your service to your country. John, you're the Department of Texas vice commander. What exactly does the Department of Texas and you as the vice commander do in the American Legion for veterans and their families?
Well, Doug, first of all, let me thank you for having this opportunity to talk about the Legion. Thank you for being here on the genesis of this program. It's truly an honor. Wow, what does a vice commander do? He drives a lot. Okay? The objectives of the American Legion, all right, are to promote the principles and policies set forth, all right, by our founding fathers in the preamble, the Constitution of the American Legion. My job, very specifically, I'm in charge of membership for the state of Texas. All right. Now, while you're in charge of membership, that also go along with that, you're promoting programs. We'll talk about them later: boys' state, oratorical, scouting, junior shooting, all of these things. I do not operate in a vacuum, however. For those that don't know, and I'm sure you do, I happen to be the vice commander. I serve the commander, John McKinney, and we have the state of Texas divided into 4 divisions. There's a division commander and 23 districts, and each one has a district commander. So what I do, an awful lot of coordination with the division and district commanders. At their request to help with membership or anything else, I've been to El Paso, Amarillo, Shamrock, Odessa, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Laredo.
So you're the man for the entire state.
Yes. But my job really is to facilitate the efforts of the division and district commanders. All right. So when they're doing a membership drive, some activity, all right, in which I feel that the department can give support and they feel the department gives support, they just get on a phone and say, hey, how about being in Alpine, this weekend? And so I get in my trusty car and I drive to Alpine. That seems like my only job is some sort of driving an advertisement for the Legion. But each place I go, I work with these commanders on a variety of things, on how you develop membership, how you monitor membership, how you track membership, how you use the programs available in the Legion to check membership, all right, and keep it on focus. I encourage them to meet the goals set by national and state, and basically I do whatever Commander McKinney tells me to do. That's in a nutshell, Doug.
Well, thanks. I was lucky enough to go to the district convention last year, and there was a lot of talk about membership in Texas, so I'm glad you bring that up. At the convention, they were saying that in Texas, the membership has been decreasing over the last few years. Why is that so? Why is membership so important to the Legion? Why the big push?
Let me respond a couple of ways to that. Number one, and I have to go back, 2007, 2008 is when all of a sudden we fell off. All right. Up until that time, we were at about 100,000 members. Right now, we're at about...
In Texas?
Yes. All right. Right now, we should make 65,000 this year. All right. And, people blamed that on a variety of things. They said, well, there was a dues increase. All right. Well, heck, we have dues increases in everything because things cost more money. Right now, in real monetary terms, the dues we're paying this year are equivalent to the $1 a year that 1919 Legionnaire paid. It really is. Membership drives what we do. We have a bureaucracy, by the way. All right, we do. We have the national level with our National Executive Committee and our staff there that monitor the legislation, that works on children and youth programs, that works on veterans programs. We have the same thing at the state level. That happens through some fundraisers, but dues money. And when we have a fundraiser for the National Emergency Fund, which we'll talk about later, for Operation Comfort Warrior, one of those funds, 100% of that money goes to that cause. We don't hold any money back for administration, for paying people's travel or expenses. 100% of the money that goes to a Legion program goes to that program. Let's see here. The last thing I would tell you is, and I didn't go this year, but I went last year to Washington, D.C., that one weekend when the American Legion descended upon Washington, D.C. And when we walk in to a senator's or congressman's office and say, we'd like to talk to you about our legislative agenda, they know that we represent somewhere between 2.3 and between 2.2 and 2.3 million members. Now, when you look at the wives, the sons, the daughters, the extended family, the Sons of the American Legion, the auxiliary, I would say that we're speaking with the voice of probably 5 million people when we go in and talk to them. So when I talk to Bill Flores from my district, Bill listens. When we go see John Cornyn, he listens. That is one of the primary things, because the attacks that are happening to the veterans issues today are coming from the government, not from the public.
So the more members we have, the larger voice we have in what happens to us.
It's the old saw. There's strength in numbers. Yes, sir.
And I didn't know that about the dues, by the way. Yes, I am a Legionnaire myself. I didn't know that about the dues, that our dues go to fund the services that the American Legion provides, not only to veterans and their families, but to our active duty military and to the community at large.
What you need to understand is, I don't know if you're even aware of this, but at our last convention, there was a proposal put forth to raise our state dues, and it was voted down silently, and we've actually reduced costs at the state level. We actually have one less person trying to continue to do the job, because we're fighting every way we can to keep dues as low as possible.
So these dues are important, and our membership is important, because obviously without money and without members, we can't perform the services that we do. And, the American Legion, I know, does a lot of good for veterans, their families, the active duty military, and here in the community with some of the stuff that Post 411 has done. And it's all about service and that pledge to service. So now I think it's a good time. We're going to listen to something. We're going to listen to the American Legion's Pledge of Service. Now, it's kind of long. It's about 4 minutes, so I'd like you all to stay with us. And I think it sums up quite nicely what it means to be a Legionnaire, what it means to have a call to service. Let's have a listen, and then when we come back, we're going to talk more with Vice Commander Heinz, and we'll bring Commander Merrill of Conroe's Post 411 into the conversation. So let's give a listen.
President Roosevelt signed the Bill of Rights.
I've always appreciated the American Legion's
My gratitude to the American Legion.
Thank you all of the American Legion.
We have millions of veterans that are members of our organization. Thank you.
The American Legion. We serve America and its veterans. We pledge ourselves to our veterans, our youth, a strong national defense, and Americanism. These 4 pillars shape our work and what we do for America. There is power in our numbers. We're the largest organization of wartime veterans in the nation. We are 2.5 million members strong, men and women from every state in the nation and around the world. No other veterans organization wields this kind of power. We work relentlessly within our 4 pillars of service, and we succeed. The American Legion takes care of our fellow veterans and their families. We maintain close ties with Congress and the leaders in Washington, D.C. They respect us. They listen to us. We sponsor research and press for medical care and benefits for all veterans and active duty service members, whether they are members of the American Legion or not.
President Roosevelt signs G.I. Joe's Bill of Rights.
You've heard of the GI Bill of Rights, one of the most important pieces of social legislation of the 20th century. It was written and passed largely through the efforts of the American Legion. We were instrumental in the formation of what is now the Department of Veterans Affairs to make sure our veterans get the care and benefits they are promised and deserve. The young people of our nation are our future. They benefit from exceptional programs and generous scholarships that only the American Legion offers. We provide athletic programs like American Legion Junior Shooting Sports, Legion Baseball, and educational and civics programs like the Oratorical Scholarship Contest and Boys State and Boys Nation.
As Supreme Court Justice Hugo Black stated, the quality of justice that Americans receive should not depend upon the amount of money they have.
We promote citizenship and an appreciation of government. We have all been directly involved in our nation's defense as wartime veterans. We know what policies, tools, and manpower our military needs to protect this great country. We fight to get these things done.
We're all very grateful to have the American Legion on point.
We take our case all the way to the top in Washington, D.C. to ensure that America is prepared for any threat. We are patriots through and through. We believe in our flag and all that it stands for. Our Constitution, our Pledge of Allegiance, our way of life are all fundamental to maintaining our freedom and the standing that we have as the greatest country on earth. We promote and defend these values every day in communities across the nation. These pillars represent not just what we do, but who we are. We're here to serve our fellow veterans, their families, and all of America. We are here for them. We are here for you. The American Legion asks you to join us in our mission. If you share our vision and commitment to America, visit our website at legion.org or your nearest American Legion Post today.
Welcome back to Veterans Air. You're live with your host, DouglasB, and with Vice Commander, Department of Texas American Legion, John Heinz, and our local American Legion Post 411 Commander, Steve Merrill. Well, that was powerful. And, I like that, and I'm going to tell you why. Because that sums up my personal code. And I talk with a lot of veterans, and I think that a lot of veterans, at least the veterans involved, live by a very similar code. My code is very simple. Honor God, love your family, and protect your country. And I think the American Legion's pillars dovetail very nicely with my own personal code. It seems to me that the American Legion isn't as renowned as it used to be. I grew up in small-town America. I'm from New Jersey. Yes, I'm a damn Yankee. And I'm from a dot on a map. But we had an American Legion Hall. And when I was growing up, the American Legion was America. Everybody I knew, we all played American Legion Little League. That's what we did. Went to spaghetti dinners. 4th of July was the parade, and then the hot dog barbecue at the American Legion Hall, followed by fireworks. And apple pie. Yes, this was America. It seems that the American Legion, at least from what I've seen, isn't that renowned as it used to be. It's still a powerful organization, but it doesn't seem to be as integrated as it once was. That may be due to the way the Legion as a whole interacts with the current military service members and those transitioning to civilian life. We may not be doing a good enough job as we once had. What help or support programs does the Department of Texas offer to the posts to help them reach out and engage potential members? Now, before you answer that, let me tell you, I was on the air live on the Cindy Cochran show at 10 a.m. this morning on this station, and we had a similar conversation of how do we do that? How do veteran service organizations reach out to military members and those transitioning? What do you say, John?
Fair enough. Oh, easy. Nothing's ever easy. By the way, I would like to mention about that original GI Bill, supported by the American Legion. It was written by a past national commander on hotel stationery. All right, that's pretty impressive. How do we try to help the posts meet their needs? Well, any number of ways. Usually, it's probably a lot more advice and expertise than monetary assistance, I must admit. But if Steve were to call me and say, "Hey, we're trying to get our Boys State program up, but we're not having any luck. We can't get into the schools. It costs money to send those boys to Boys State. I would drive over, Steve, and sit down and say, okay, here's what we need to do. And we'd make an appointment to talk to the superintendent, the principals, the PTA. We would go out and get sponsorships in the community. Steve has a problem with membership. I will come down here and help him stand on a corner with a big sign that says Join the American Legion. Our department officers, as well as our division and district officers, and they're all department people, they are on the road constantly, or they should be, doing just that, providing support to the local posts. The problem we run into, we don't control the local posts. You're aware of that. Mm-hmm. Each local post is a distinct corporate entity. To be identified as Legion, they must follow our state and national constitution and bylaws. But what they decide to do, what programs they decide to support, is up to them. A lot of our job is encouraging them to do more programs. All right. We have a training committee that will give training to any post on how to do this stuff. We budget them in. If you want a trainer to come in and give you a class on any aspect of the American Legion, you just call department, tell them you want to have a class, when you want to have it, and we will have a trainer there to do it.
So this sounds to me just like the old chain of command. Just running up the chain of command will run it back down and solve it.
More than you ever. Well, no, sometimes we create more problems, but we try to solve it. We certainly do.
John, talk to me about the 4 pillars. What are these 4 pillars?
What are they? Well, obviously, to review for the people that weren't paying attention during the soundbite, Veterans Affairs and Rehabilitation. All right, national security, Americanism, which some people equate with patriotism, but in the American Legion it's called Americanism, and children and youth. Every program we have must support one of those pillars. If it doesn't support one of those pillars, maybe the American Legion does need to be doing it. All right, and that has been the focus of everything that happens in the Legion. Somewhere along the line, it has to support those pillars: our veterans, our national defense, national security, Americanism/patriotism, or children and youth.
These seem to be like really important points, since they are the backbone of the American Legion. Let's take a listen. I have a short PSA about these 4 pillars I want to play for you real quick. I'm just going to tell you just quick what the 4 pillars are and what they do.
The American Legion. We're a powerful force for the nation. We pledge ourselves to our veterans, our youth, a strong national defense, and Americanism. These 4 pillars shape our work and what we do for America. We work relentlessly within our 4 pillars of service, and we succeed. As the largest veterans organization in the nation, we have the numbers and power to influence our leaders in Washington, D.C. to enact laws that make sense for America and to make sure our veterans receive the care and benefits they have earned and have been promised. And we have over 14,000 American Legion posts, sponsoring youth programs and promoting patriotism and American values all across this great country. We're proud of our service to our country in uniform during times of war, and we're honored to continue to serve through our membership in the American Legion.
John, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Americanism. What is that?
Wow. Americanism. It is, I don't want to say, yes, America first.
Right?
In a very positive manner. Just the other night, whatever day this is, one night last week, at my local post, several of us went out and taught a flag etiquette class to a group of middle school students.
What are you saying? You can't step on the flag? No, I see that on Facebook all the time.
We went a little further than that. By the way, that's, you know what? You're getting me off on a tangent here now, Doug. We're blaming you. We're blaming you. That is why, under Americanism, one of the causes that we are struggling with the American Legion is for the Flag Amendment, to make desecration of the flag unconstitutional. There are certain things that we believe that are sacrosanct. All right, as an American, that flag represents everything. It represents Valley Forge, Guadalcanal, Chateau Thierry, the Idrang Valley, all right, Fallujah, and everything it does. It represents pioneers who went west and settled this land. Were we perfect? No. But do we come closer to creating the best country there is? We absolutely did. And I can deal with people that want to say, gee, we can do something better, we want to do this, but you don't desecrate the flag to do that. And I don't accept that. Now, you took me off on a tangent. Where were we?
Well, that's where I wanted to take you.
Okay.
Patriotism and Americanism, it's hard to define, and they seem to be bad words or not politically correct in our society. And I wanted our listeners to know that the American Legion is out there, and it's fighting some of these things that are happening to our flag.
We are fighting it in more ways. You talk about Americanism, to give you an idea of what other programs under Americanism, the Legion supports manageable legal immigration. Absolutely. I don't know, my grandparents all were immigrants. All right.
My wife is.
We adamantly oppose illegal immigration. I mean, that's a word, illegal.
Yes.
All right, and we notice that.
You can say that on the show.
Well, if you're looking for somebody politically correct, we'll go out on the sidewalk and find somebody. A lot of Legion posts and the Legion at the state and national level promotes voter registration and voter participation. All right? It's a sad state of affairs when we have a national election, and there have been times when we're lucky to get 50% of the eligible voters to take the time to cast their ballot. Boy Scouts of America falls under Americanism because it is an organization that teaches civic responsibility, and it teaches discipline, and it teaches love for country. Keep talking?
No, round up.
Round up. All right, I'll give you one more. We actually support the return of saying the Pledge of Allegiance in our schools by our students and teachers.
Hoo-wah. I've had Steve sitting here in the corner here for the past half hour. Poor Steve. Sorry, Commander. I want to welcome you to the show, Commander. And Steve Merle is the commander of our local American Legion Post 411 right here in Conroe. Steve grew up in Houston. He entered the Army in 1972 and served in Fort Polk, Louisiana, Fort Gordon, Daegu, South Korea, and Fort Hood, Texas. He left active duty in 1975 as a Spec 5, and he entered the fire service in 1977 in Houston. He is currently retired as an investigator as of 2004. Steve has been an active member in the American Legion for the past 16 years in the Tomball Post, Willis, and now the commander of Conroe Post. Steve has been the commander for the past 3 years, and we hope to keep him around for a while. Steve is also a life member of the VFW, and Steve serves on the combined American Legion VFW Honor Guard. Steve, thank you for being with us here today, and I personally want to thank you for your service to your country. Reading over your bio here, you've certainly had a distinguished career, both military and as a civilian. I see a lifetime of service to the community. Now, you're the commander of Post 411 here in Conroe. For our listeners that may not know that Conroe has its own American Legion Post, can you tell us a little bit about how Post 411 got started, a little history, and tell us where the post is today?
Well, Doug, thanks for having me here. I think it's important for us to get our message out about the American Legion and to let people know in the Conroe area that this post has been revitalized. That yes, indeed, there is an American Legion Post here in Conroe. This post has been in existence since 1934. That's when it was originally chartered. Our oldest member has 64 years membership. He has served almost every, if not all, the positions at the post level for sure that we know of. Our members range from World War II up to the current conflicts. And most of the original people, much like today, were businessmen, local businessmen, or whatever. Most of our members today range from retirees to people that work in the area and everything. That's what makes up most of the post and everything nowadays is your local people. And that's what you need. In the recent past, the post once had a home, and at some point in time within the last 20 to 25 years, that home was sold. That was before the current administration and everything stepped in, which was about 4 years ago. The sale of that post had dramatically hurt this post, I think. In my opinion, it has. We don't have a place where we can go to for our meetings, a permanent home. We don't have a place that a veteran looking for some services or looking for help, we don't have a place where they can go knock on the door and say, hey, I need some help. You know, we currently meet at Ryan's Buffet here in the Conroe area up off Loop 336. We meet the second Tuesday of the month there. So, but we don't have a home of our own, and that's something that we really, really need. And that's something that for the last 3 years as commander I've been trying to work on, as my board has been trying to work on. I think that with a home that you would see this post grow exponentially if that's what we had.
I got to do a shout out for all the listeners out there. You've heard Commander Merrill say it. The American Legion Post 411 doesn't have a permanent home. They meet the second Tuesday of each month at Ryan's Restaurant on 336 North Loop in the Military Honors Room at 7 p.m. So if you're sitting out there and you have a home, an empty home, house, warehouse, storefront, anything, something, contact the local American Legion Post 411. Donate your home. Donate your business. Let's get a post here in Conroe. It's been 20, 25 years since American Legion had a post that members can go to, that veterans can go to looking for help. Conroe, let's help them out. There's got to be something out there for these guys.
Doug, further on as far as our members and everything go, our current board of officers is a great bunch of guys. All of them, everybody that works as an officer for me or with me, not for me, but with me, we all do this free of charge. We don't get paid to do this. But each one of them comes with, has various responsibilities, a diversified knowledge base, insights into what might be good because, like I said before, most of our veterans come from World War II up to the current conflicts that we're involved in. So this diversity and everything has helped us progress, I think, in the last 3 years that we've grown from the original 25 members that we started with 3 or 4 years ago to over 200 members now. And we're growing every month. So the board that I have in place, that we have in place, is very, very good. They work real hard. They work tirelessly. We're always out in the community. It seems like we never cease trying to go to different functions and everything else. Currently, we have, like I said, over 200 members. And the active members, we don't have the active members that we would like to have. And I understand that people work. Some people just can't physically get around everything, and I understand part of that. But the only way we can expand everything is to get out to the veterans in a local area and everything, and let them know, look, there is there is American Legion Post here, and we can serve you, but we need to know you're there.
Let's talk about that for a second, about service. John told us at the American Legion what it stands for and why the 4 pillars are so important. And we learned what those 4 pillars are. As the commander of the local post, what does your post do in support of these 4 pillars?
As far as let's talk about the veterans pillar first. You got to remember, a lot of our members come from the 60s. Veterans were in the 60s and 70s. At that part of history, or that time in history, most of the veterans weren't thought of as real good. It wasn't real good to say, hey, look, I'm a veteran. I served in the early 70s before the end of the Vietnam War. I got out right about the time Vietnam ended, and you weren't treated nice as a veteran. You best keep quiet if you were a veteran back in those days, which is a sad thing. But I think with what's happening today with the newer members, with the conflicts we're going through now since 9/11, I believe that the community is more open to reaching out to the veterans and everything nowadays. But I think we need the good and the present and the past for all this to work right for the veterans, because the veterans who were there in the hard times in the 60s and 70s and everything, they can shed some light on what some of the newer veterans may go through. So I think it takes all of us working together. As a group, we're constantly monitoring what's going on in regards to legislation, VA bills, anything that has to do with veterans' health care and everything. And here again, like I said, I think it's important that we have the people, the veterans of the past, working with our current veterans. The veterans coming home nowadays, they don't know what they're up against. And the guys from the 60s and 70s, they know what they're going to be up against. Our service officers work tirelessly to help keep the veterans involved or advised of what's going on as far as any benefits they may have, any pending legislation, anything that may help the veteran cope with whatever's happening in their life at that point in time, any service-connected possibly disabilities or anything like that.
So I hear you saying that a part of the taking care of veterans pillars is that the veteran needs to go to the American Legion. We have the answers for you, or the Post has the answers for you. And if they don't, they're going to find the answers for you. That the veteran isn't alone. He has some place, some people, a group of comrades that have their back.
That is correct. There's only so much we can do. If we don't know you're out there, we can't help you. There's several of us involved in several functions around the area. And one thing that happens every Wednesday, there is a veterans group that meets, and most of the guys out there are World War II or Korean veterans. Okay, a lot older than myself. That's probably, like they said, one of the greatest generations ever. I go out there to see if we can assist any of those veterans. Here about a year ago, I had a wife approach me. Her husband was going through radiation poisoning from Nagasaki and wanted to know how he could get in on the system. I'm afraid this gentleman was probably in his late 90s, and it's probably a little late for him. But that's what I go out there for, to see if any of those veterans need assistance that our service officers can help them into the system.
You say this happens every Wednesday?
Every Wednesday, yes.
Where's this out? Go ahead and give me a shout out.
It's at 105 Storage, out off 105 and Old 105. The gentleman that runs it out there, hosts it out there. It's a real good. It's basically a coffee and a get together for all the old veterans and everything. And it's where they can get information on what's going on, what's happening in the community. And like I said, there's some of us from our post go out there, and we try to keep them abreast of anything that would help them. I recently had another veteran come to me, or that I learned of, and he served in the Navy during Vietnam. The ship he served on wound up being part of the Agent Orange process. He didn't know it. So now this veteran is now in the system, and he's had some medical issues that may very well have been caused by the Agent Orange stuff. The list went from 30 ships to over 300 ships here recently that have to do with the Agent Orange process. And I encourage all veterans to become a member of a post, because, like I said, or at least an organization, because if we don't know you're there, we can't help you. That's the only way we help keep track of you.
Let's talk about the mentoring the youth of our nation. And I'm involved in some of these programs, but tell me, what does the American Legion, what is our post doing in the community to mentor the youth?
Okay. We stay real busy in the community. We were real involved at the high school level with Boys State, sending students from the area high schools to Boys State.
What's Boys State?
Boys State is a try to think how to it teaches the youth of today how governments are set up, how they're run, and everything. Several of our presidents, a lot of politicians have gone through Boys State. It's a very influential learning process for these students. Unfortunately, we don't have the participation at the schools we would like to see. We're actively trying to get these students to apply for Boys State.
Well, let me ask a question here. Do you have to be son or daughter of a member to get into Boys State?
You have to have a relative that it would be better if they had a relative, but no, you do not have to have a relative that was a veteran or anything. This is open to any student. They have to apply as a junior to go in their senior year. But no, they do not have to have any official affiliation with any veterans organization. Their parents don't. That's not a requirement to be able to go to Boys State. Their only requirement is that they have to be cleared or sponsored or approved by a counselor at the school or whatever.
Well, what does this Boys State cost?
Right now, the two that we're sending is right at $290 at ballpark, and we pay that for these students. The rooms are furnished, the meals are furnished. The only thing we suggest they do is take some money to buy some shirts. They're busy for 5 days up there. They set up governments. They elect presidents. They do everything. They go through the whole gamut of setting up a government up there. But like I said, the room and board is paid for by us. They have to furnish their own transportation up there. Unfortunately, what we've had to do here lately is require them to come back and make a deal at the post.
Tell us, come back and tell you all how it went, right?
Yes, we want to know what they learned. If there's problems with it, that's the only way we can learn to correct the problem. If they see a problem in it, we can make suggestions possibly for corrective action. But so far, everybody that we've sent, they've had a real good time and learned a lot of stuff.
I understand that you guys also sponsor a Little League team here in Conroe.
Yes, gladly. This year we have been able to acquire a Little League team. We've been trying for 3 years to get a Little League team to sponsor. The Conroe Youth Baseball Association finally was able to reach out to some groups, and we were able to secure a team this year. From what I understand, they've all done real good so far and on a winning streak, so we'll see what happens with them.
Steve, where does Post 411 meet again? Tell me, how do we get hold of you?
Okay. Post 411 meets the second Tuesday of every month at the Ryan's Buffet. Ryan's Buffet is at the northwest corner of Loop 336 North in the Walmart parking area. It's basically at the intersection of 336 North, and I believe it's Westview or something up there. So, and that's where we meet. A lot of us will go in early and eat dinner and everything. You don't have to come in and eat dinner. If you want to join us, if you want to become a member, just show up at the meeting. If you're not a member, we will get the proper paperwork there. We will get you signed in, and we will vote on you at that meeting in time.
So if you're thinking about joining the American Legion, you all need to come out to Ryan's at 7 p.m. next Tuesday and join up. There's a lot of information for veterans that the American Legion provides you, and you can find or join the American Legion here in Conroe. You can visit us on the web at AmericanLegionConroe.org. And the Department of Texas, by the way, is a plethora of information on their website. And I'm going to warn you now, there's more information than you'll know that you actually want. And you can get over to the Department of Texas American Legion site, and that's txlegion.org. Coming right up after these brief messages, we're going to start our commentary portion of the show and take some viewer call-ins. We're going to be talking about the MartlandAct, and I'll be opening the phone line soon. The phone line number is 936-647-3776. We'll be right back.
You are listening to Veterans Air on IRLoneStar.com and Conroe's FM 104.5 and 106.1.
Since 1776, countless men and women have given their lives in service to their country and their fellow citizens. Memorial Day is set aside to honor those gallant heroes and praise them for their sacrifice. This Memorial Day, pause for a few moments and offer thanks to those who have given so much for the freedoms we have today. This message is brought to you by the wartime veterans of the American Legion and this station.
You're back with DouglasB on Veterans Air, the Veterans Hour, reminding you that Claymore mines are stamped with front towards enemy for a reason.
Welcome back. You've reached the commentary portion of the show. In this show, we're going to talk about the MartlandAct. And this is all my opinion. This is where I go off book. The atrocities that are happening every day in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Iran, they're indisputable. But this show is not a political opinion show. We're not going to talk about government policies. We're not going to talk about what support we should give. We're not going to do a Monday morning quarterbacking of what our elected officials should have done or have done wrong. However, the case of Sergeant First Class Charles Martland is different. Because what is happening to him and the policies set in place because of his actions, they're going to have far-reaching consequences for our current serving brothers and sisters and for the future of the military. If you don't recognize the name, the mainstream media has done a good job of not following up on what's happening, so let me give you a brief background and bring you up to date. United States Army, Green Beret, Sergeant First Class Charles Martland is being involuntarily discharged for his actions toward a police commander in Afghanistan. For those who haven't heard the story, back in 2011, Sergeant First Class Martland and his commander, detachment commander, went and confronted a local police commander after a local woman came to their outpost and asked for help. She had been beaten by the local police commander. This Afghan police commander raped her young boy repeatedly and beat the mother when she went to the police and confronted him about the act. After she was beaten, she went to a nearby American outpost for help. Sergeant First Class Martland and his detachment commander confronted the police commander, who admitted his acts. He laughed and he said it was no big deal. It's part of their culture. This Green Beret proceeded to shove the commander and toss him out of the base. Witnesses on the base verified that the commander was more embarrassed than hurt, and they all sided with Sergeant First Class Martland and his commander. The police commander complained to the higher-ups in the chain of command of the United States Army, and now because of this action, Sergeant First Class Martland is being involuntarily discharged for his actions by the U.S. Army. They say his actions weren't following the integrity of the Army, and thus he should be QMP'd. That's the Quality Management Program, where they kick you out. Well, I, for one, completely disagree. What this Green Beret did was live up to exactly the motto of the Green Beret. Liberate the oppressed. It's the motto of the Green Berets, to liberate the oppressed. His actions further were morally right. And he was trying to protect the innocents. If standing up for this innocent child and these civilians that are being abused by corrupt police and officials isn't moral, nothing is. What does this say to our allies? What does this say to our citizens? What does this say to the people we are trying to liberate? That American flag that's sewn on Sergeant First Class Martland's shoulder and is proudly worn by every service member today, that used to stand for something. I'm wondering what it stands for now. So, okay, let's fast forward to 2016. As reported by the Army Times in February 26, 2016, and you can find all these links on our website, veteransair.us/Martland. The link is out on the webpage. The discharge of Sergeant First Class Martland has been delayed until May 1st, 2016, to give Sergeant First Class Martland sufficient time for a file of his final appeal. So time's running out for this highly decorated 11-year Green Beret. Since the story broke last year, Representative Duncan Hunter has thrown his support behind Sergeant First Class Martland and has introduced a bill being called the MartlandAct. You can also find that on our website. As reported by the Army Times on March 2nd, 2016, reported by Kyle Yanner, the MartlandAct would empower U.S. troops to block sexual abuse on foreign soils. The legislation, officially named Mandating America's Response to Limit Abuse, Neglect, and Depravity, or the Martland Act, says that human rights violations, including child abuse, shall not be conducted or condoned on any U.S. military installation in the United States or abroad, whether the perpetrator is an American or foreign. It requires the Pentagon to submit to Congress a comprehensive plan detailing the procedures by which the Secretary of Defense will implement this policy within 90 days of this bill passing into law. The bill cites an example and a precedent, a Pentagon policy precedent, that instructs the troops to oppose prostitution, forced labor, and human trafficking. The bill quotes a U.S. soldier stationed in southern Afghanistan who said the Afghan police officers brought boys onto the base to sexually abuse them. And I quote, "At night we could hear the boys screaming, but we're not allowed to do anything about it," unquote. Hunter's chief of staff, Joe Casper, told the Army Times that Hunter is working to secure co-sponsors for this bill and plans to introduce the bill later in the week as an amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act. In addition to Representative Hunter's support, the VFW and the American Legion have also thrown support behind Sergeant First Class Martland. I think Sergeant First Class Martland should be retained by the United States Army. I think he should be giving a medal. Meritorious Service Medal at the very least, and the thanks of this nation for doing his job. Well, that's my opinion. Let me hear yours. Our lines are open at 936-6 647-3776. Call in now. Oh, you've heard my opinion. You have 4 callers online? I got 4 minutes left. Oh, I need to wrap this up. John, Steve, any thoughts on the Martland Act?
I know exactly the case you're talking about. I had forgotten the name. But yeah, strong thoughts. The man's an American hero. It's as simple as that. He's an American hero.
Yes.
And he's being ill-treated.
Well, guys, you heard our opinions. Tell you what, why don't you go on over to our website, Veterans Air. Oh, we have a caller in? Caller on the line.
Yes.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, welcome
Hello,
to Veterans Air. Who's this?
Hi, my name is Allie.
Hi, Allie. Where are you calling from?
Lubbock, Texas.
Lubbock, Texas. A lot of veterans up there at Texas Tech. Get your guns up.
Yeah, always Rec and Tech.
So what are your thoughts here on this Martland Act?
Well, I have a lot of opinions regarding this. On the one hand, I support the idea of the Green Beret. What he did was, of course, very meritorious. On the other hand, there was the standing idea that the laws in Afghanistan are the laws of Afghanistan, and we have to respect them. And unfortunately, rape really isn't it doesn't have the same idea as it does in the United States. So what he did was against the standing law. Putting in something like the Martland Act would definitely be able to help change that for the future. Of course, personally, morally, I agree with his actions, but he did essentially break the rule that was currently standing.
So what do you think should happen to Sergeant Martland?
I don't believe he should be punished. I think especially if the Martland Act does go into effect, that it should essentially just be nullified. Whether he should be given a medal, I suppose, just depends on whether or not the Army decides, how the Army decides to enact that act. Whether they say, yes, we're going to start taking an active effort against trafficking, against rape, and against what in Western culture we agree is wrong, then of course a meritorious medal would be appropriate.
Well, thanks for calling in. Appreciate your point of view. That's an interesting way to look at it. It's both positive and negative on this.
You know what,
thank you for taking my call, Douglas. Also, I wanted to point out I did hear that somebody saying that there should be returning of pledges in schools, which I can only speak for Lubbock ISD because that is where I work. But students still actively say the Pledge of Allegiance to both the Texas and the American flag.
Cool, I love it.
Good for y'all. Good for y'all.
Yes, thank you for taking my call.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to run through real quick some events that are happening, and you can find these events on our website at veteransair.us. So go on over there, take a look at veteransair.us. But here's what's happening today, in case you didn't know. It's the third annual Chris Kyle Challenge Day. The Honor Bound organization will be hosting this event with a barbecue for the servicemen and women at our local military base here in Conroe. Shout out to the 158th Ghost Riders. For more information, you can contact Kenny Smith at 936-446-9399. On the 16th of April, Ken Myers and his service dog Hope are going to be leaving from the VFW Post 4709 on Seaman Street. Mr. Myers and his dog Hope, they'll be walking 628 miles on the Never Quit March for Post-Traumatic Stress Awareness. Ken is marching 22 miles the first day to bring awareness to the 22 veterans that take their lives in this country every single day. And the next day, he's going to walk 19 miles for the servicemen and women that lost their lives in Operation Red Wing. For more information about the Never Quit March, contact your VFW Post 4709 at vfw4709.org. The 26th of April is a big day. Mark your calendars for the Veterans Expo. This is going to be at the Conroe Convention Center. It's Tuesday, April 26th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And Steve, you guys have a booth there, don't you?
Yeah, we will have a booth there.
Outstanding. If you had not gone to the Veterans Expo last year, you need to go. April 30th, the American Legion is going to be having a garage sale at the Montgomery County Fairgrounds, they have booths inside of the chain link fence, and they're on the second row. They need donations, and they will gladly come pick up these donations. So contact theamericanlegion.org for more info. On May 16th, that's the big drawing day for if you want a AR-15. That's right, the 48 organization is holding a rifle raffle, and tickets are now on sale. May 16th, they're going to draw a winner for a DPMS Oracle chambered in 223. All proceeds go to the 48 Nursing Scholarships Program. For more information, contact 48.org or Tim at 936-524-0238. And here's the big one, Memorial Day. Mark your calendars because you don't want to miss this. It is the second annual Great Conroe Hot Dog Giveaway sponsored by the American Legion. It's from noon to 4 at Candy Cane Park. Free hot dogs, free refreshments, music, and door prizes. We're going to be entertained by the talented Cheyenne James, so go on out there and see them. I need to give a shout-out real quick to our sponsors of this show before we leave. Veterans Air is made possible by East Meets West Productions, a full-service business and marketing consulting firm helping vets start and fund their businesses for 25 years. For more information, call 361-904-0044. And, of course, by our very own American Legion, Conroe Post 411. That about wraps up the show for now. But remember to tune in May 3rd at 1 p.m. for Veterans Air here on your Lone Star Community Radio for more news, talk, and commentary of interest to veterans in this family. I want to leave you with this awesome song by the Warrior Project and use permission. And if this doesn't get you blood pumping, nothing will. While we're listening to it, let us remember to our brothers and sisters in uniform today that they're putting themselves in harm's way to stand for our freedom and utility. If you're wearing the uniform, I say thank you. I'm proud of you. Until next month, stay vigilant and stay safe.